Hi, this is James O'Keefe. I'm captain of the Massachusetts Pirate Party, and I'm joined by Joe, our quartermaster. Unfortunately, Steve and Malt won't be joining us. Both are busy with other things, and we wish them well in those projects. How have you been, Joe?
I've been fantastic. And yourself, Jamie?
I've been very busy. Work and family are, even in the pandemic, always busy. So,
Well,
so for folks who, we last weekend, we had a fun time mapping the surveillance cameras, or continuing our effort to map the surveillance cameras in Boston Seaport District. And on the 12th of December, starting at noon, so 12, 12, 12, Malt and I and anyone who wants to join us in Worcester are going to continue that effort to map the surveillance cameras. You can check out masspirates.org. We'll have a sign up form that you can use to tell us you're going to be attending and to get details as well as get a reminder. So we're looking forward to that. Um, Joe, so what do we have to discuss today?
so there's two major topics that we wanted to go over, but the first and foremost is this new vaccine for kids. So the vaccine for the kids, I'm not sure the exact ages, but I know it's teenager years, early teenager years. And I know that this pandemic, as hard as it's hit adults, there have been fatalities done by kids. So it's not like kids and perfectly normal, healthy kids too, not just those who would have some type of pre-existing condition. And so I definitely urge every one of you to take this vaccine opportunity seriously. I know there's a lot of tribulation about it, but if it's worked in adults, most likely it's going to work in kids, and they wouldn't really give it to you unless they were reasonably sure it would be safe. Um, but that being said, we do support your individual right to wait and see, but just understand that it will be difficult to ensure their safety. Almost all the deaths are those who are not vaccinated. So, even though you can still catch it, having the vaccination, it does give your body an immunity and a strength to it. It's the only other way I can really describe it. And, we want to see your health, your safety, because if you don't have your health, you don't really have anything. So, that
Right.
being said, yes, Jamie?
No, finish what you're saying. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. So, without rambling on too much, it definitely outweighs the risks. And you're not only keeping your own child safe and your own future safe, but the safety of those around your child as well. So,
Yeah, especially since kids are back at school, and I know my youngest is back in school, and they get tested once a week, which is important. And they have to wear masks, but being vaccinated gives that extra degree of protection for him as well as fellow students, his teachers, administrators, and other folks who work in the schools, and likewise, of course, their family. If their body can fight it off that much faster, then they're much less likely to be able to transmit it to people who maybe have compromised immune systems, and as a result, the vaccine isn't as effective with them. And it's really encouraging that now children as young as 5 years old can get vaccinated. So, as you said, Joe, we encourage you to take that step. You're doing a good thing and helping to protect yourself, your children, and your community. And that trifecta is important in and of itself.
I love how you put that all together, Jamie. That was great. Um,
Thank you.
the other big thing is the elephant in the room, which is the Kyle Rittenhouse, if I'm saying that right.
Rittenhouse, yes.
Yeah, that whole case, and that's So we're not as fluent in the laws governing guns out in there, but Massachusetts is one of the more stricter gun states. And even though I don't advocate for having stricter gun laws, I definitely don't advocate for having less strict gun laws, especially being Massachusetts the way it is. We are very much, we have a lot of sanctuary cities here. Um, and a lot of places where I've seen people from all over the world. And if it was that easy for them to get a gun, just coming over from the country, I could just, with all the clashes of culture that happen on a regular basis, with at least within my city, um, I could see that you'd want to make sure that that person is of sound mind and body before handing them a firearm. That being said,
Sure, and that
I
goes
will,
like I recently heard, if I can just interrupt, there are a group
yeah.
of white nationalists slash Nazis who came down and decided to um, terrorize. Maybe that's too strong a word. The Lucy Parsons Center, which is an anarchist bookstore info shop in Boston, and if they were able to carry guns, that would be a much more worse situation than if they're not, because of Massachusetts strong laws. So, we know people are quite willing to use threats of violence. We saw it during the pandemic where people marched into, state houses, brandishing guns. So we know those laws can help here in Massachusetts. We haven't had those types of circumstances. So um, it's important that we have those laws to protect us from people being yahoos. Um, and especially with sanctuary cities, we've got people from all over the world in our country, and that's a great thing. And we need to make sure that those folks are protected from folks who are not as welcoming as pirates are to
Well,
people
I
from
mean,
other
I think
countries.
that really speaks to part of what this case is. Now, I know in Massachusetts, and actually the way that persecution's really trying to label it and getting shut down, might I add, by the judge. But the way it really is you're not allowed to shoot people over property, even if they are burning down a car, like smashing windows. You're not supposed to shoot them. It's only if your life is in danger, as opposed to just some items. Now, I understand that he was there to protect property, but if you're there to protect property, like if you're in Massachusetts and you're just there to protect property, you don't have a gun, you have a clipboard and a phone and to call the police to bring that in. You don't shoot somebody over a broken window. You know, however they're behaving, your obligation in Massachusetts is to run away. If you can get away and be safe with your body, you run away before you pull the trigger. You don't pull the trigger and then run. So, if
Yeah, I
there's
mean,
no
yeah, go on, please.
if there was no possible way of escaping, and it's them or you, then that's when it's your life on the line. But I don't think that was the case with this. Um, I'm not as familiar with all the different pictures and stuff, but from what I understand, there was only one person who was attacking, and then when he was trying to break from the scene and get away and get to safety, that's when the other two were following him with firearms. Now, from their perspective, I can
Well, I
see
believe one
how
had a firearm. I'm not sure the other one had a firearm.
I know at least one had a firearm, and they thought there was an active shooter going on. And so they were probably thinking, hey, I'm going to go stop this active shooter and save the day. You know?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because both sides can say they were the good guys with the gun, right?
Yeah.
And so that points to issues where, you know, just because you have a gun and you think you're the good guy doesn't mean necessarily that you are the good guy. If you change the location and someone got into an argument in a Walmart and had a gun and shot someone and then ran away, we'd have an entirely different situation than being on the street
I mean,
during protests. But just to
honestly,
finish one thing, but it's important that people have a constitutional right to protest, and he's there on his own, not part of any organization, not with a lot of training from what I can see, and comes ill prepared with no water or food or anything like that, just gets dropped across state lines. I mean, that's a strange thing to be in a position of, especially with a high-powered rifle.
I mean, perfectly frank, um, even if it is property that he's protecting, you don't tend to protect property with an AR-15. You would bring a smaller sidearm or something like that. I mean, it seems a little too out of place with a particular type of weapon that they're looking to ban. I'm surprised the NRA isn't all over this case, and then some. Or maybe they are, but it's one of those ones that I haven't really heard much in the way of a proper defense for Mr. Rittenhouse, you know?
Yeah, especially when the judge seems to have taken a position where he's gone and said to the prosecution, you cannot characterize the people who Rittenhouse shot as victims, but yet lets the defense go and allows them to call the people Rittenhouse shot arsonists or vandals, or any other number of derogatory, potentially biased and derogatory words. When those folks were never convicted of arson, they were never, even as far as I know, accused. And so that is the judge setting things up to bias one party over another.
Mm. So as far as that goes, it's just such an interesting case, and it's going to make for a really interesting case law as to how we handle situations like this, especially when it could easily be a he said, she said type deal if it wasn't for the fact that he brought an AR-15 to go protect some properties. Like why? Why would you need something that strong when easily bear, mace would do, mace or tasers or so many other options? Even if they have a gun, they're not going to be happy if they have a whole face full of mace.
True, and also, I mean, I think people, maybe someone's going to call me naive, and I don't care if they do, but if you're there to protect property, then just putting your body there and saying, not with a weapon, and saying, look, you shouldn't burn down this property. This person has done no harm to you. Just leave it alone and just get in people's faces. They're not armed. And so, yes, they could certainly choose to hit you. But if you talk with them, it is possible to talk people down from that. And I'm not accusing anyone of having intent to burn down property, but I think we are far, as a society, we are far too willing to believe a narrative of, well, we have to have weapons in order to protect us. I mean, these are your fellow citizens. We should be able to talk things out. And that's part of the issue that we see with discrimination and, race in the United States, is we're not talking through our past. I mean, some people don't even want to discuss our past. They want to censor it. And we've seen that with recently with municipalities that have decided to pull books out of libraries because, they're pro-African American, or they're pro-LGBT, or they talk about slavery, they talk about something that these parents or school committee members don't believe that we should talk about. But if we're willing to censor things, if we're not willing to talk things through, then you encourage people to be violent. And that's not what we should be doing.
What's that old saying that they used to always say? Those who forget history are condemned to repeat it. If we don't talk about Nazis, then we'll give a possibility for somebody to rise up as a Nazi. If we don't talk about that. You know, I mean, yeah. if we forget about it, then we're just going to open up our humanity to a can of worms. You know, all the hard lessons that we have sacrificed over so many different generations, and seen all the dumb and all the cruelty and all that. If we were to forget it, we were condemned to repeat it. So, that being said, Jamie, thank you very much for joining us, and all you out there for joining us. Definitely smash that like button, comment, yell at us, tell us we're wrong. But I want to hear all about it and what you think about gun laws, and should we have them more strict? Should we have them less? And really the reason why. So, thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Joe. And thank you all for watching. Check us out at masspirates.org. Have a great week. Bye.
And sign up for the mailing.
All right, we're done.